All right, welcome to the Rules Confirmations and Public Elections Committee meeting. It is 4:36. We're going to get started. We do have a quorum with myself, Councilmember Cash, Councilmember Evans, and Councilmember Toombs. No one signed up for the public comment. I do have a consent agenda. I'm going to read off the numbers. If anything needs to be pulled from consent, please let me know. First one is 562. 578 and 579. Does anything need to be pulled off of consent? All right. RS 2024-562 by Sepulveda approves the elections of certain notaries public for Davidson County. RS 2024-578 by Porterfield recognizes Gretchen Walsh on setting the world record in the 100-meter butterfly. RS 2024-579 by Benedict, Gad, Hill, and Bradford recognizes Non-Binary Awareness Week and International Non-Binary Peoples Day in Nashville and Davidson County. Can I get a motion?
Approval.
Second. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 4 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. All right. Next is BL 2024-343 by Stiles, Coopin, Eastlick, and others. Amends Chapter 2.112 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws regarding the membership of the Metropolitan Nashville Arts Commission and the process for approving the criteria for awarding funds. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
It is my understanding that this is getting deferred one meeting. Is that correct?
It was deferred yesterday in Budget and Finance for one meeting, that's correct.
All right. Can I get a motion for a one meeting deferral?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 4 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for a one meeting deferral. All right, next is BL 2024-344 by Stiles, Coopin, Eastlick, and others. Amends sections 2.147.030 of the Metropolitan Code regarding the selection of members to the Nashville Music, Film, and Entertainment Commission. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Was this also deferred one meeting?
It'll go to, actually, no, it's already been approved by Arts, Parks, Libraries, and Entertainment Committee, and this is the only other committee to which it is referred.
Councilmember Toombs.
Chair, I think it makes sense since it's basically adding a council member just to the Entertainment Commission just as with the previous legislation. And so for them to track together
Okay.
makes sense to me, so I would move for one meeting deferral.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any non-voting? 4 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for one meeting deferral. All right. And now we are on to late file ordinances first one is by Councilmember Stiles. An ordinance to approve 3 option agreements authorizing the purchase of properties for a new elementary school in Antioch in Tennessee. I don't see Councilmember Stiles here, but I could sign on. Yeah, we could. I'll go ahead and sign on so we could hear it. Director Darby, do you know why it was late filed?
I don't, but I see Mr. Brahm in the hallway, and I'd like to go, I can go grab him and see if he can give me some timing.
And here, may I ask, this is what we looked at in a different form
Correct.
a
It
month
was
or two ago, and
Oh, yeah.
learned that we had to do it by ordinance, not.
Yes, that is correct. And so it's now being filed by ordinance, and I don't know if one of the attachments didn't make its way here in time, and that's why it was late filed.
I believe that we just didn't get all the stuff to legal in time, and that's when we're late filing it, just to make everything, all the T's crossed and I's dotted on it.
Can it wait?
So there are 3 options that are in play right now. There was one option that was a larger option that that actually expired, that we had a 90-day extension on, and that will run September 2nd. There's another option that will run the end of August. So we have 4 council meetings between now and when the option runs out. we could potentially do that, but we also think that we're ready to go, and we'll be ready at hearing next week to have folks talk about it and why we need the school, so.
Okay, Councilmember Cash.
I know there were efforts previously to try to secure a purchase agreement, and there were some unexpected understandings or some new developments about how the legislation should proceed, and so I kind of think that MNPS is already kind of playing catch-up, and so I do support this, approving this as late filed.
Any other questions from committee members? Can I get a motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 4 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. All right, next is a late filed ordinance by Councilmember Spain, an ordinance to amend section 17.04.060 of the Metro Code zoning regulations to amend the definition of commercial amusement inside and commercial amusement outside. Councilmember Spain, why is your ordinance late filed and can it wait?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this ordinance is intended to provide some clarity to the definitions of the types of facilities that are allowed by special exception in residential areas. It's late filed because it came to my attention as a result of the last BZA meeting on June 20th, on the evening of June 20th. Our filing deadline was the following day, the 21st at noon. This was filed on Friday afternoon, but I missed the deadline by a couple of hours. The need for expediency is that the current ambiguity is creating some inconsistent interpretations of how these things are dealt with. The previous zoning administrator has ruled that some of these types of facilities fall into one category, the current one sees them in another. But our current zoning administrator, Hargis, said at the last BZA meeting that Metro Council needs to act and fix these definitions because, as it is, there's a gray area and it's causing him to try to put square pegs in round holes. So I think it's an issue that we need to address as quickly as we can. Of course, this would only be on first reading if the committee and the body approves, so we would have plenty of time to properly vet it. My hope is that if we could pass it on first reading tonight, that we could get it on the agenda for the only planning commission agenda in July and come back to us in August.
They had concerns before, they should have told us ahead of time.
I don't disagree. This was the first time that it came to my attention.
Yeah. Questions from committee members? Councilmember Toombs.
So, this sounds similar to an issue that I'm having in my district. I think it is an important issue that the council should consider. I have concerns about trying to make the July Planning Commission meeting just because people travel in and out during the month of July. So, not sure, how many council members will be able to tune into that Planning Commission meeting, and it is urgent, but not so urgent that I think it needs to be on first reading tonight. I mean, I don't feel strongly either way, but I don't feel a sense of urgency to get it on first reading tonight.
Councilmember.
I just had a question. I don't know, what is a commercial amusement inside? What is I don't know what that is.
Well, that's exactly the issue. So the bill adds there are some examples in there. The current examples in the ordinance are just those first two, a bowling alley and billiard parlor. So we're adding some other examples of the types of things that would qualify as a commercial endeavor rather than a recreation center. Right now, some of these things are being considered recreation areas, and that recreational facility is allowed in any R zoning area, whereas the commercial endeavors would not.
I see. Thank you for the clarification.
And part of the need for the expediency is that there are some projects that are in progress that aren't to a point of being vested one way or the other, where this determination will make a difference in whether or not they can go forward or not.
Any other questions?
May I speak, Chair? Even though I'm not-
Councilmember? Yes.
Thank you. So, Council, so I actually was at that BZA meeting and I was watching it live. I don't remember which. I think I was at it because I had a case, and I think it was after this one. And to me, based on what was discussed at that meeting, I think that there is a need to move quickly on this. I think that there is a case for it to be expeditiously handled. So my request would be to, for this committee to let it proceed. I think that there is a pending case that needs to be made more clear in order for the right determination to be made for our citizens.
I appreciate that. Again, if they had so many concerns before, they should have came to us ahead of time. Personally, I think I need to be consistent with previous council members who have come before the Rules Committee, who I said I wouldn't support a late file because it could wait. So I'd have to vote no. I guess we could go ahead and take a vote if someone wants to make a motion or a different motion.
I'll move approval.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? All right. 2 in favor, 2 against, 0 not voting. So we have no recommendation, I guess. All right, thank you. Okay, next is board and commission appointees and nominees. Candidates in this category will appear before the Rules, Confirmation, and Public Elections Committee to determine the relative qualifications of the candidates. All right, so for those who are up, the nominees that are up, you will be answering questions before us today, right now. You do not have to stay for the council meeting. You will not be up for a vote until the next council meeting. You do not have to be at the next council meeting. If you choose to be at the next council meeting, you can come, and we will clap for you. All right. First up is the Nashville Music, Film, and Entertainment Commission. Consideration of these nominees to fill 3 vacancies for a term expiring on June 20, 2028, with an election to be held on July 16, 2024. First up is Anastasia Brown, nominated by Councilmember Joy Stiles. All right, come to the hot seat. Would you like a parking validation or a bus pass?
I Ubered because,
All right. Do you currently live in Davidson County?
yes,
Do you serve on any other Metro boards and commissions?
not Metro, just the Recording Academy Board.
All right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are interested in serving?
Sure. 1993, I started in the music industry and managed Keith Urban and worked with Sting and Waylon Jennings, and then I moved into music supervision for films like August Rush, got an Oscar nomination for that. So I've been in the business for 31 years. I got to score this movie called The Shack in Nashville with 74 Nashville musicians, and that was one of my best days of my life. And I was on the board of the symphony, and I feel like this city really matters to me, and the creative community matters a lot to me as well.
All right. Will you commit to promoting equity while serving on the board?
Yes,
Can you meet the time requirement?
yes.
All right. Any questions from committee members?
I guess, what would you like to accomplish, like if you were appointed, as far as serving?
Yeah. One of the things I would really like to help is to help create a self-sustaining film, TV, and scoring industry here. And like the score for The Shack was just as good as the score that happens in LA, London, and our musicians really need more work. So I really, that's a very big passion of mine. And I think being a part of, like, you have to be in the room to make a difference. So being a part of the commission will allow me to be in the room and try to help out.
Any other questions from committee members? All right. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 4 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Up next is Lynette Kraft, nominated by Councilmember Jeff Preti. All right, Ms. Kraft, would you like a parking validation or a bus pass?
Yes, parking validation, please. Thank you.
You're just making sure?
Yeah, I was like, where do we park? Yeah. I just checked with Stephanie Silverman about everything. The decision's really high ground.
Validation.
Thank you.
Do you currently live in Davidson County?
Yes.
Do you serve on any other Metro boards and commissions?
No.
All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving?
Awesome. Well, I love Nashville. I am an artist that has different connections in different communities. I'm primarily a theater person, is my passion, but I have worked in film and TV. I have many friends, neighbors, dare say family members who are musicians and artists in this community and in Tennessee in general. I have had some good and bad experiences with Metro Nashville Arts Commission, mostly good, and I support and appreciate, but a few years ago I was in a play at Actors Bridge by theater company as Verge Theater Company. I was at a play, in a play, and it kind of changed my life. And I became really,
She already went. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
no, that's okay, is that okay? And so then, so I was in this play, and it was a hard play and a beautiful play about microaggressions. And I really learned a lot about what kind of artist I wanted to be, and experienced a kind of passion for my city and my friends that we make art with, and started to ask questions about, wait a minute, what do my Black theater friends really need? And I didn't come up with it myself. I actually asked my friends, and they said, you know, some power, some money. So now my friend Alicia Hamer is the artistic director of the theater company, and I am just proud to connect her and artists and serve in whatever way I can. Being part of the artistic community here in town, we've been through a lot in the past few years, and COVID was really hard, and I'm pretty committed to just growing some local artists. My husband is a teacher. I've been a teacher on all these different levels. I worked for the Nashville Shakespeare Festival for about 4 years. We're losing our young people for multiple reasons, but the artists that I see coming out of some of these high schools here, they go elsewhere for a lot of different reasons, and we all know it's hard to afford Belmont, and Belmont it does great with the Mike Kerr, but I'm interested in seeing this city grow their own voices and their own artists and supporting those. And so, yes, I'm very interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think it's time. Nashville's a great place to live. So why not? Why shouldn't the artists be from here? Yeah,
Right.
that's kind of that.
So will you commit to promoting equity while serving on the board?
Yes, I will. Absolutely.
Can you make the time requirement?
I believe that I can.
Okay. You mentioned that you had some trouble with the Arts Commission in the past. Can you speak to that a little bit? I know it's not the committee you are being nominated
No.
for today, but
Let me
It'll-
talk about this, please. Let me
it'll
tell you what
help
happens
as we
to
move
my
forward.
friends and our shows. So we had created, under this direction, under Alicia's direction, a program for the year, and that's how theater functions. You kind of make your schedule for the whole year. It's not just a one next. And we got an amazing grant, and it got held up, after the Supreme Court decision. And I thought, is it because we are now a Black theater company? Is that why? I got all these things going through my head, like, why is this being held up? I'm gonna stay out of it, because I really don't know. But I do know that I feel like I've had allies at Metro Nashville Arts, and then I feel like they go away. And I don't know what's going on with that, but can I help artists in any other way?
in regards to the board, like they helped from the board side or the staff side and then they went away?
Staff.
Okay. And was this last grant this past fiscal year?
Yes, thank you
Okay.
for bringing me back to that. So what had happened was we spent a lot of time and energy and money getting it ready and getting our artists in order and having people upend their lives, because you don't make money doing this. And then the next thing you know, the check's not coming and the check's not coming. And I had been really hesitant to even start asking for grants as a nonprofit, because I'm a foster child, I know what happens to funding, so like I was like, ooh, and Alicia and Jackie were like, no, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be great, and almost 10 months late, how much, I'm so bad at that numbers thing. Anyway, it was a long time and I didn't want to think about it, but we had to postpone the project, we had to move everything back. I'm asking, people like, can we please turn in our grant not on the 20th of June, but on the 29th of July, which is the time we can get into our space to do the Black Future project that we were supposed to do back then. It was just like, So, as a working artist, I understand what happens with stuff like that. And I think we finally did get our check. It was less than promised at some point. I'm fine, we're fine. I don't know how else to.
I appreciate that.
I don't want to get it, yes, thank you. Thank you for the money, Metro. Thank you, thank you. A few $1,000s goes a long way with a tiny little theater company.
Councilmember Evans.
So on that same track, so you ended up getting money, it was less than you expected, and then when did you actually receive it versus when you had to spend it?
I think we received it when we finally got that check, and I would have to double check with Alicia. Again, she is my boss, she's the artistic director and in charge, but I do believe we got it finally about a month ago. I think maybe 2 months, it's been a month, maybe it was May. And it was supposed to, our fiscal year for that grant closeout was like June 20th or something like that, or maybe even a little sooner, and we were like, we can't do the project you're gonna pay us to do in that time frame because, I mean, Ariel, she's in high school, she needed to graduate high school, we couldn't get the space. The Barbershop Theater is where it's at, which my husband and I own as an umbrella kind of space for performing artists who, you know, aren't gonna sell T-Pack. So, I'm a connector, I really would love to help, and Jeff said do this, so would you consider it? I said yes, and he said specifically because of experiences we've had with Metro Nashville Arts and with being a Black-run company and possibly just the interconnectedness of all of us. As film and TV, you can't make your living in one or the other here in Nashville, and I think we should be able to. We've certainly got the talent, and we've certainly got a lot of expertise. And so, yeah. So I would like the queer kids to stay in town, and I would like, you know, a songwriter to say, well, I did, you know, some poetry workshops, and now I'm a songwriter, and I choose Nashville.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other
Sorry.
questions from committee members? All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 4 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Robert Deaton was withdrawn. Next is Josh Esler, nominated by Councilmember Jeff Easlick. Is Mr. Esler here?
It's out, it's just.
Is he outside? We're gonna move him to the heel. Next up is Ross Holmes, nominated by Councilmember Jordan Huffman. All right. Mr. Holmes, would you like a parking validation or a bus?
I would love a parking validation, thank you so much. I also think it's funny we're playing musical chairs up here.
You currently live in Davidson County.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you serve on any other metro boards and commissions?
I do not.
All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving?
I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, and moved to Nashville in 2010, but Nashville's been a second home to me since 1995 when I was a kid, coming for music. As I said, I'm a professional musician and spend my time either in the recording studio or on the road. I've contributed to over 600 albums and have received some amazing opportunities and awards through this career. But the reality is, when I have asked my fellow musicians their thoughts about the Metro Music Arts and Film Commission, most of them have said, what is that? Which I think is very interesting, that in a town that prides itself on calling itself Music City, the very core of the spirit of music, these musicians, these contributors have no idea what this commission is, what the commission can do for our music community, the arts community at large. And through my experience not only in music but serving as president of our community organization, East Thompson Community, as well as serving on the board of Neighbor to Neighbor with Miss Evans, and vice chair of that board, I've realized that the opportunities for musicians like myself to serve in roles like this have been very limited, and having a person on the front lines of the industry directly involved with touring and the recording industry, there haven't been many people, if any, to represent so directly in the past. And that's why I would like to serve.
Great, thank you. Will you commit to promoting equity while serving on the board?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you meet the time requirement?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, questions from committee members?
So of course I worked with Mr. Holmes on the Neighbor to Neighbor board, and you had no issues meeting any of our time requirements. You were at all the meetings, so even in spite of your heavy touring schedule. So I recommend very professional, good connection to really digging into issues and helping organizations thrive. So But yeah, I'm glad you're nominated and
It's good to
appreciate
see
being
you
here.
again.
Yeah, I know, I haven't seen you in a couple of years, so.
Are you not showing up to the meeting?
I'm not on the board anymore. Chair, sorry.
All right, other questions? Okay, you mentioned that there are specific needs that the music committee, community is concerned about, or that they need their voice heard on. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Surely. There are resources available to the arts community in Nashville that most people aren't aware of, that I'm not aware of. And having lived permanently in this town for almost 15 years now, I still find that the information about what Nashville, what Metro can do to bolster the arts community is lacking. There's a lot of paperwork sitting on top of the answers, and most musicians just want a direct answer. Can we get help for this project? Is there access for this opportunity? It's just not there. Most of the people that sit on these committees, I know a lot of these folks, and they're record label executives, they're people that run studios, they're not actually musicians. They're not people that are out on the road necessarily touring. That's no slight to any of these individuals. It's just the way that it sort of falls most of the time, because the players are concerned with being the best musicians that they can be and leaving the, sorry for lack of a better word, the bureaucracy to other people. But I find it very fascinating and interesting, and my abilities as a speaker, as a leader, have provided me opportunities, ironically, outside of music, serving community and neighbor to neighbor. And now my shift is, okay, how do I take the background that I have of the last 5 or 6 years outside of music and move this towards my passion, which is music and the arts.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 4 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Since Vice Chair Prepti is here, I'll give you a second if you would like to speak in regards to your nominee.
Yes, apologies for my tardiness. A number of factors, national traffic being one of them. But truly. But thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, committee, for taking under consideration Nettie Craft. I've known Nettie since I moved to Nashville. Sort of one of actually since before I moved to Nashville.
Yes.
One of my neighbors and one of the best people that I know here in Nashville. Somebody who truly does have a heart and an eye for what is needed within this field, and truly has a mind and a heart that's geared towards making sure that there's equitable access for everybody within our city, and making sure that we are fostering growth in our industry that is geared towards what our citizens actually need. So I appreciate the upvote on her, and would appreciate your all's support moving forward. This is the first person that I have nominated to anything, and so I think that speaks volumes to her quality and her ability to serve. So thank you all so much for the consideration.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Going back to Josh Essler.
There's no one in the other room.
All right. I'm just gonna withdraw. All right. Next is Brian Mansfield, nominated by Councilmember Jeff Eastlick. Is Mr. Mansfield here? I will roll him unless he's in the hallway. Okay, next is Gina Miller, nominated by Councilmember Mike Cortez. Ms. Miller, would you like a parking validation or a bus pass?
I mean, the bus pass sounds kind of cool, just so I
Yeah.
can ride it, but no, but I mean, maybe I should get the bus pass and see where we go. I'll park though, so I'll take
I'm not leaving my car.
I mean,
Yes. All right, Ms. Miller, do you currently live in Davidson County?
I do.
Do you serve on any other Metro boards and commissions?
I do not.
All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving?
Alrighty. Well, good evening, good afternoon, or whatever the time it is. I am a native of Memphis, Tennessee, born and raised. I went to school in Knoxville at UT, and I also went back to school at Belmont and got my music education licensure K-12. I have for the last 30 plus years worked in music and entertainment. The last 20 years I've worked leading a record label on Music Row. I also manage talent. So I have artists, musicians, actresses who work. Some of my actresses have done in the last 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 films with Lifetime, specials with TV One. I have Grammy award-winning artists that I've worked with consistently for years. I would like to think that in this community, I am a fierce advocate for artists of every level. I think there's a misnomer sometimes that legends and established artists, veterans, don't need certain things, and they still do, especially as technology continues to change and how we find our audiences continues to change. Also, on the flip side of that, we have such a dynamic pool of artists that are emerging in this city that I think with some great care could also become our veteran artists. So I try to make myself kind of everybody's auntie across the board here, being present, advising, mentoring, doing what I can even from an economic pipeline, hiring studios as well. I feel very proud that in the last few years when I looked at the independent venues and also the studio list, like I've been a big part of keeping some of those businesses going, like just recording there with our artists. So I'm pretty involved. I would like to say that I'm very active in the artist community in the city. So
Great. Will you commit to promoting equity while serving on the board?
absolutely,
You meet the time requirement.
yes.
All right. Councilmember Cortez, would you like to speak in regards to your nominee?
I would, yes. I feel very privileged to know Ms. Miller with her experience and the perspective she brings. I spent 15 years in entertainment myself, so knowing some of the challenges that creatives face and the pain points in the industry, I think she'd be an amazing voice for those creatives on the commission, and I support her wholeheartedly with absolute confidence.
Thank you. Any questions from committee members?
What would you like to achieve if you were appointed to the commission?
And that's a big question because there's a lot. I mean, if I can just get really comfortable with this,
Yes.
this is an exciting time to be in the city. As I've said, I've been here for 30 years living in the city. And I've lived all around the cities except I keep finding myself returning to South Nashville. And I don't know that I have seen a more exciting time for what I think the future of Nashville can look like. I was sharing with someone earlier today that, 5 years ago, when it comes to the different dynamics of what people think of when they think of Music City, all of that still is true, but I think people are now more open to what else does that mean. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it show up. We're seeing it walking up and reflected up and down Broadway. We're seeing it when we look at the kind of shows that the city is bringing. I mean, we are getting prime placement on these shows that are coming to the city. So I think all of that's exciting. You start seeing things like an urban outlet like Blavity having their first festival here. That's a very significant thing for the culture. So I think that, I don't know if I would pinpoint one thing, but I do think that the process will allow us to identify what needs to happen. It seems like more than ever before, there's opportunity, and our economic pipeline is strong. So I would just love to be a part of opening up our minds to how that can look, where we can have those dynamic artists that I was talking about at every level can win at every level. And I do think that there's room for that here.
Thank you.
You mentioned you keep coming back to South Nashville. Can you elaborate?
So I lived in Franklin, fresh out of college. I lived in Franklin. My ex-husband's born and raised in Franklin. He went to private school, I went to public school. And I had to say that because I think that's important context to my purview of how I arrived to be this person. My family are educators. I learned a long time ago, my mom was a career educator, and she said to me, you have to be able to communicate well with the principal and the building engineer, and understand that all the power is with the secretary. And so that's been my life motto, really. Like, I feel like I can go in any room and talk to any person at any level, and I didn't see what I wanted to see reflected as community until I got to South Nashville. My neighbors, my neighborhood is and I used to sub. So let me say that I used to sub at middle schools and elementary schools in that neighborhood. And what I can tell you, those stats then is very much reflected in our real Kroger. You know, when I go to Kroger, I see the Kurdish community, I see the Pakistani community, I see the Asian community, I see the Black, I see Latinos. Like, that's a real thing, and I enjoy every bit of it. I love international food. I love my neighbors. They take good care of me. We walk together, we wave each other, we talk to each other. So a lot of the things that we don't get to see in its full glory of Nashville, I get to experience it on Lawrenceville Road, and I love that for me.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, any other questions? All right, can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. All right, Brian Mansfield. Nope. All right, he's withdrawn. Okay, next is Mo Sabi. Is that right? Sabri?
Sabri, yeah.
Sabri. I'm sorry. Nominated by Councilmember Zulfat Suara. Would you like a parking validation or bus pass?
Good.
Okay. Do you currently live in Davidson County?
Yes.
Do you serve on any other metro boards and commissions?
No.
All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving?
All right. Well, first, thank you for having me. My name is Mo Sabri. I grew up in a place called Johnson City, Tennessee, and for the past, I think about 7 years, I've lived in Nashville. I'm a full-time professional artist, and I feel like what I can bring to a commission, this particular commission, is a bit of expertise in multiple verticals. I work as a musician, and recently have become a filmmaker, and I also am from a diverse community. I'm Pakistani American, and I'm also Muslim. I am a voting member of the Recording Academy and have been for, I think, about 6 years now. So that means I vote on Grammys. So if any of you guys are up for one, let me know. And I'm very active in the Nashville chapter. I'm also frequently in Los Angeles and New York. I have, as a recording artist and a songwriter, I have a lot of experience in multiple genres, and right now especially in country. So I think I understand the potential for Nashville to grow on the music side. It's obviously amazing already, but I think it could grow through being a home to multiple genres in the same way that it is for country. And all my friends who live in LA, every time they come, they love Nashville. So I'm like, we could bring more of the industry here from the music side. And on the film side, I'm currently making a feature film with the Academy Award-winning producer of Summer of Soul. And it's based here in Nashville, and it's actually following my story as being the only and first Muslim in the country music industry in Nashville. And I would actually like for my story to not be unique. I would like for it to not be a novel film. And it's really exciting. We've been in production for over a year. I actually have a really exciting trailer if anyone wants to check it out. But so I know firsthand, operating at a high level in film in Nashville in production, I know the challenges that filmmakers face, and I'm working with the highest level team and producer, so I'm able to access their expertise as well. So it's been a very enlightening process, but I think Nashville has a lot of potential and room to grow in that. And for example, not only in documentary, but in narrative, Marvel is leaving Atlanta. We're only a few hours away. I don't see why we can't bring more of Hollywood to Nashville. And I think Nashville has that potential. It can be the next Atlanta and the next Hollywood. And then also I am from a diverse background, so I know people, I love when people appreciate our communities, but I'm from it, and I know the challenges that we face. And if you go down Nolensville, you see all the restaurants, but we don't have a lot of artists because there are a lot of structural difficulties that we face in order to get to the level where I'm at. So I'm really passionate about helping people of all backgrounds. I'm a mentor for Grammy U and have been for many years. also for South by Southwest. So, I just think Nashville has a lot of potential, and I think that I can help in multiple avenues, and I'm just really excited for the potential, and I appreciate the consideration.
Great, thank you. Will you commit to promoting equity while serving on the board?
Yes.
And you meet the time requirement?
Yes.
All right, Councilmember Suara, would you like to speak on behalf of your nominee?
Yes, thank you, Chair, for recognizing me. I knew Mo before I actually met him. My kids used to listen to Mo at conventions. He was a rapper. He did not tell you that. He used to rap from Johnson City. In fact, when I nominated him, Councilmember Hoffman came to me and said, "Did you just say Mo Sabri from Johnson City?" I said, "Yeah, the same one." So he's been singing for a long time, and he's been able to influence a lot of youth, especially in my community. And so when we're talking about Nashville being welcoming, when talking about the diversity of our community, I would like to see us celebrate those music too. When you see the documentary that he's talking about, there's an infusion of both country music, and there's a place where we're singing Pakistani music. I mean, it was just something that young people should be able to see and to develop and to cultivate. I think that it brings a very special perspective to the board and to Nashville. So I hope he has your approval, he has mine, and since I've known him a long time now. I knew his music, but then when I met him, he's such a fantastic young man and a great person all around. And so rapper, country artist, Pakistani artist, all of it, I think our boards, as we're putting things together, has to be in a way that everybody is represented. You know, you want the leaders, the executive, but you also want people on the ground. You want people that sing different kind of music so that everybody will have a voice and will be able to represent all the people that we serve. So with that, I support him and I hope you approve.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you, guys.
So you locked her in with the rapping as well. Just curious.
I want to hear a little bit.
If you were invited to audition for the role of Aladdin in 2019, did you ever audition or you were just?
Oh yeah, so I auditioned for Aladdin. It was about 20 pounds ago. But when Disney was casting the main character for the live action film, it came out in 2019, but they casting in like 2016. I was invited to do multiple auditions for the film. And, you know, one thing I learned that was really my first introduction to film at a high level, I learned that they don't ever really tell you no. So there was a long time where I thought, you know, I was in the running at the end, but they didn't tell me, oh, we're going with somebody else. So that was, you know, it was bittersweet, but I'm so glad that it was a really amazing opportunity, and I believe in fate, and I think that it was part of the reason that set me into the path from strictly being a musician to also being a multi-hyphenate and a filmmaker. Because at first they were casting for singers who looked like Aladdin, so there's not a lot of them.
Did you find out when the movie came out?
I found out a bit before, but you know, it was still a bit like, oh man, you know, I know what it's like to wait for your phone to ring. So.
Right. Any other questions? All right. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much. Next is Shannon Sanders, nominated by Councilmember Jenny Welsh. Shannon Sanders. Y'all, we got to do better about getting our nominees here. All right, I'm going to move her to...
Him.
Huh?
Him.
Oh.
To him.
I'm going to move him to the heel unless Councilmember Welsh knows if he's on his way. I know she's inside if someone wants to notify her.
I'll go do that.
Okay, next is Stephanie Silverman, nominated by Councilmember Quinn Evans Siegel.
Yes.
All right, we got one. Okay.
And I will take a parking validation.
Okay. All right, do you currently live in Davidson County?
Yes.
Do you serve on any other Metro boards and commissions?
I'm currently on this board and commission.
Okay.
But rolling off, and so this is,
Got it.
would be a second rank.
All right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving?
All right, I am the executive director of the Belcourt Theater. And, you know, so I'm fairly naturally plugged in to the film community through that. My husband's a professional musician, so we sort of live by the arts in this town and by both the sort of commercial and nonprofit side. I have been serving on the commission for 1 year. I was one of in the initial round of commissioners. And I feel like what I've really brought to the commission, because it is in such a startup phase, is actually my sort of organizational and operational skills more than anything. So I drafted the bylaws that we have voted on and are using. I drafted a budget to take to finance to begin to talk about how to realistically stand up a commission from a meager but meaningful starting point that does involve a little more financial support. I think it's been a really great year of kind of startup work, but of course, because there has been no staff person, it's been, really a good challenge and one that I think we've met, but I think the real opportunity is going to begin as we're looking at the next sort of 4 years with some budget to look at staffing possibly and some other kinds of forward movement. So I think really what my contribution is to this group, though I work in these industries and because I work at the Belcourt, we get to work both on a national level and of course deeply local level, is sort of my institutional stand-up ability, and I would love to be able to continue to do that work, although clearly there are a lot of amazing people who can serve on this commission in this town. So there will be no shortage of wonderful people, but I would love to continue doing the work.
All right, thank you. Will you commit to promoting equity while serving on the board?
Yes.
Can you meet the time requirement?
Yes.
All right, I have several questions.
Okay.
Okay, there had been concerns raised about attendance on the current board with it being so large. What is it, 19?
I think it was 19.
And we are currently in discussions. We have a working committee to discuss the size of all boards and commissions. Do you have any thoughts, insights specifically regarding that board? It is one of our larger boards, and one of the reasons that it was so large was to address pretty much every different field in the industry, which doesn't really happen on other boards and commissions, right? We rotate people out. So do you have any insight as far as the size of the current board?
Well, given the current quorum requirement, that the quorum really is about the number of appointed commissioners and not the number of present commissioners to move actions forward. So far, the commission has been able to move forward and get work done. I do think it is a challenge. I mean, I honestly think this commission is very broad in scope because we are an industry city, with music industry being, of course, core, but enormous opportunity on the film side and just sort of larger in the entertainment side. So, if I could wave a magic wand and structure it in any way that I wanted, I would think a core commission with populated working groups that maybe weren't commission appointed but were sort of community appointed, that really focused on the sectors would make a lot of sense, because I think it's a way that you can make recommendations up a chain that then get approved via a commission vote. So I think if there are ways to sort of reimagine it, that would be one efficient way to do it, where you sort of have stakeholders from all those communities, but real work being done by experts working in those communities on the ground. But at the same time, I think it is such an important commission for this city to have. Certainly working in the film world, every major metro area has a film commission, has music, has this sort of stake in the ground from the cities that allow access to city departments, to city buildings, to all of the permitting that's important for all of the kinds of work that we do share across the three sectors. So, a perfect model might be a smaller commission that had larger working groups underneath it.
I have two more questions, but I forgot to recognize Councilmember Quinn Evans.
Hi.
Would you like to speak on behalf of your nominee?
Yeah, so I got to meet Stephanie in my living room.
Yeah.
Former mayor brought her to a meeting where we formed Voices for a Safer Tennessee, and thank you. You meet somebody like Stephanie, and you think, I don't know, she runs the Belcourt, like she's probably gonna help with like fundraising, but like within 2 days, Stephanie was like on the phone with the attorneys, like setting up the paperwork to get that organization off the ground. And it's just so rare to have somebody who is an expert and at the top of something in the community who's just a doer. And so I hope that folks will support her, but that is why I renominated her for this board, because I know that she is like somebody who like gets the work done. And that's so important on a board, especially one that is still getting going.
All right, thank you. Second question.
Yeah.
You said that you worked on the bylaws for the commission as it got started. Did you have any help from Metro Legal, HR? What was the starting point? Who worked through that with you all?
I did the first draft by myself.
Okay.
We had a small bylaws committee that then we sort of ran it through. And then after we felt comfortable with it, we did give it to legal, and legal reviewed it and made, I think, one recommended change. But so it intersected with legal at that point, but really, me and my fellow committee members did the work.
Okay. My last question, and then I'll come to other committee members. You talked about the need for staff.
Yeah.
Right, and I think we put that in the budget for an executive director.
Yeah.
Were there any other needs that arose as far as staffing?
I think any staff member is a huge advancement at this point, just because it means someone can be working every day, all day long on building out what this is. I think they're going to need a second, whether that's a commissioner, whether that's someone focused on a specific field or just a flat-up assistant. Ultimately, I think it's going to be at least a two-person office need. But I think as it's growing, that, the staff should still be pretty mean and lean, and the commission needs to do some entrepreneurial lifting around this. But it's tricky, as you guys know more than anybody, the sunshine laws make that very difficult in terms of getting momentum and even like having larger strategic conversations with other national partners who want to come in here and engage and work. If you can't even like take your colleague and have a meeting with them about it, it's a really difficult position. So at least with an executive director, we have that, and commission who can go and work with them and support them in those kinds of conversations across the board.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from committee members? Councilmember Cash.
Hey, I appreciate all the specifics that you gave so far in the short tenure of the commission. That really helps, and I'm not surprised. You've been a great leader in District 18 at the Belcourt, and have an awesome reputation as a leader. The chair asked you about your willingness to support equity in decision-making and composition and various things. And I'm kind of wanting to ask you, like, at this point, what would help make the commission more equitable? What do we need to be aware of? And I want to be clear that I'm not really so much asking about like the election that's before us, but both in terms of gender demographics, but also in terms of like location and sub areas. And
I think it's very much in who and how we're having conversations with, in terms of bringing projects in terms of rooting work here, and who we're really sort of recruiting to do that work. I mean, the Blavity work was amazing. There are so many things that are happening that are sort of outside maybe what has been conventionally recognized as the music industry in Music City. And I think we have to lean into those relationships deeply. I think we have to really be connecting with the creative workforce that's on the ground doing commercial work now across spectrums, to make sure that they have the support systems in place, and where Metro can help sort of raise those votes, so that there's both this sort of external effort to recruit more work to Nashville, and then there's an internal initiative to make sure that creatives who are working here, many of whom have sat in this chair in the last half an hour, have reasonable access to this work and feel advocated for as we're building up a more dynamic, sort of film and entertainment landscape. you know, it really is about putting your money where your mouth is and supporting artists who have maybe been under-recognized in the commercial side of our city and its industry to date.
All right, Councilmember Evans.
Thank you. On the executive director side, since we were able to add that additional funding this time, so has the commission kind of started to think through like how that role will be crafted? Was that part of your bylaws consideration? What, do you have a plan, or is that in process now that you know you have funding to do it?
So we had already done the work to write a job description with HR's input. So that is actually, that exists as sort of, frankly, at that point, a wishful thinking. I mean, there was, even with the original financial allocation, it was not quite enough to get someone with the skill level that you need to be an executive director for something that's kind of this scope and scale. But that job description exists and is ready to roll out once the budget, you know, once everything was finalized. So actually, I think we're in a pretty good position to begin to hit the ground running on getting that position staffed.
Yes.
Did you have a total separate question?
Yeah.
Any comment you want to make in here about the Sundance interest and any scoop you want to share?
Do you want to get me in more trouble? I'm already in a little bit of trouble, as Stephen Elliott back there knows. All I would say is Sundance has been a long-time partner with the Belcourt, and for 14 years they ran a program early on when I was working there called Sundance Film Festival USA, where they sent a festival film during the festival and a director, and we showed that, you know, and had a Nashville and Sundance moment for 4 years. We were part of their off-site festival during COVID. They've been wonderful partners to us, and I think one of the things they've given us is the sort of national nod of approval that sometimes you need for your own community to go, oh yeah, those guys are doing kind of cool stuff. So I'm a huge fan of theirs. I do go to the festival every year. It's one of the good perks of my job. I think they're wonderful, and I think they would be a real asset to Nashville.
And how do you look at the commission kind of being an influencer? As you guys are kind of, you've had this year, and I don't think a year is long enough to really be out of startup mode, but like as you look towards a longer, like if you were reappointed in the term that you'd be reappointed to, like how do you transition out of like startup mode to like being a player?
I think in that case, where the opportunity lies is, you know, as they make their decision, if magically in a world that I don't know about yet, they were going to move to Nashville, that's where the work of the commission is, because there from filmmakers to studios to producers to visual artists to music folks, that festival is jammed with creatives. And that is a place where this commission and these commissioners should be working and learning about opportunities, understanding what other cities are doing. I think there's a lot of modeling that we can do based on already existing successes, because we are, you know, in this startup mode that's frankly borrowing other people's good ideas is a really smart way to go at this point. But I think that's the kind of opportunity that comes with a national sort of creative festival like that. And I think where those other opportunities already exist with the work that's already happening, with festivals that are already happening, with anything where the industry coalesces in Nashville, those are just ripe for the picking for a staff and for commissioners to really begin to do the work of selling Nashville as a place where industry should grow and expand.
Thank you.
I have one follow-up
Okay.
based off of one of Councilmember Evans' question. Another thing the committee is looking at is who hires the executive directors, right? And
Yeah.
there are only a handful of boards and commissions who hire their own executive directors. This has been a problem.
I'm aware.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this commission has only been up for about a year.
Yeah.
You all have now received funding, right? Again, the working committee is taking a look at that structure, but do you have any thoughts as to why it should remain the way it does when it's so new? one of the arguments that I have heard is, well, if it goes to the mayor doesn't necessarily have these expertise on this specific field, but he hires other directors for other departments. I don't know how much the mayor will know about water or IT or the most random stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, do you have an opinion?
I don't have an opinion. I do have questions about what best practice looks like in this situation, honestly. And if we were gonna have a mayor do it this round, we got a good one right now for this particular commission, actually. But, you know, you don't wanna committee everything to death, but if the cohesion of having the mayor's office lead these hiring initiatives across the board happens, it is then what does the intersection with the commission look like? And how do you work in partnership so that this room full of experts is participating and informing and sharing? So I don't have a strong feeling on that. Look, we're an arts commission fundee, so I have been deeply aware of the situation over there, and that is not something that I think should be replicated now. Whether that was commissioner's issue, whether that would have been solved if the mayor's office would have hired, I don't know, but I think consistency in organizational structure makes a lot of sense. So, as a working group is looking at it, it does not make sense to me to have it different commission to commission, honestly.
Thank you for that. Any other guests? Councilmember Stiles.
Hello, my dear.
Oh, hello.
Hi. So, I am here, of course, to speak in favor of Ms. Silverman. She was instrumental in conversations about creating the commission, as well as the creation of our Office for Music, Film, and Entertainment. And so we need, which is now institutional knowledge, she really needs to remain on this commission. I think we need to get things up and running before we start transitioning people. This is a brand new commission. They have met 8 times since we created it, and they got started in August. And so I want to commend them because they have done great work. They've gotten their bylaws together. They've created the job description for the executive director. We now have funded this office, so the executive director is not trying to carry everything on their back, and they're going to have a support staff to get going. And so for them to create that new position and all those responsibilities, we need people that have been a part of the conversation. It's not just having someone who's in the industry. So I hope that you will vote in support of her. And I do need to also say, Mr. Sanders is not here. It is a holiday week, and he is in the studio, but I will also say Mr. Sanders also instrumental in creating the commission and part of the meeting. So
He has to be here for us to.
I just wanted to let you know where he is, and if he has to come back another day, we need him to stay too, because he's got a lot of knowledge. And if I came in on the part about the mayor doing the hiring, was there something about that?
I asked, the working committee is currently looking at the structures for all boards and commissions. If Ms. Silverman had an opinion as to would it make sense for the current,
Any
board?
mayor, that is,
No,
or just
no,
right
for
now?
the current board, how it is structured already in the bylaws for them to hire their own executive director, is there any input on that? And that is the.
Versus the mayor hiring it, or
Yes.
just them? Yeah, it needs to be them because they actually work in the industry, and we've had enough people run departments that have been belly button cleaners and been put over entertainment or other things. It creates too much inconsistency. So, just wanted to give that 5 cents, my 1,000th time saying that.
All right.
Thank you.
Again.
And I also would say, because I know this is a reappointment, but I'm not looking to go beyond this. I would love to just do one more term. I promise I'm not here twice. But just because 1 year was very short, 8 meetings was not quite enough. But you got lots of great candidates, so it'll be fine.
Okay, any other questions? All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Sanders can't be here, and he can't come back because everyone is being nominated for the next meeting, so Mr. Sanders is withdrawn. Okay. Next is Mike Smardek.
Yes.
All right. Nominated by Councilmember Jeff Easlick. And we're almost done. All right, Mr. Smardek, would you like a parking validation or a bus pass?
No, me and my girlfriend.
All right. Do you currently live in Davidson County?
I do not. I live in Williamson County.
That is actually a problem. You have to live in the county to be able to serve on a board and commission. So I apologize that you made the trip all the way out.
That's okay. I think I gotta tell you, I'm going last, so I can say this. I'm so impressed by so many of the people here. And I own a company in town, Outback Concerts, Outback Presents. And really quick, I'll just say this to get to the point. You know, I came here 27 years ago. Cumming Station building, we're still the longest running tenant in there. We went from my wife and I to 80 employees. This town's been everything to me. And so, you know, I'm glad that we grew from 2 people to the 6th largest concert company in the world and independent against AG and Live Nation. So, you know, that's why when I was asked to come, I wanted to be here. But I feel great, even though I'm not eligible, for what I heard from all the people before me today. So, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
Move to Nashville.
Really quick on a not a great note. My wife unexpectedly passed away in October 2020. And I had been looking, and I came down to buy almost right after that. And my friend Rod Essig at CA said, he goes, don't move yet, you're being reactive, right? Like, you know, this just happened, give it some time, you know. And so, you know, I'm constantly looking for a condo downtown that fits my lifestyle.
Well, we think we're better than Williamson County.
I do. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, and that concludes for the Music, Film, and Entertainment Commission. We just have 4 left. The Arts Commission appointment of Maida Yu for a term expiring on April 24th. She could not be here today, so she needs to be deferred 1 meeting. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any not voting? 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. All right, the last piece is appointees that came before us already. And they interview, we just need to give a recommendation, so I'll have a consent on this one. If anyone needs to be pulled from consent, please let me know. For the Airport Authority, Jocelyn Stevenson, for a term expiring on April 5th, 2031. For the Arts Commission appointment of Evan Brown for a term expiring on April 26, 2026. For the Arts Commission appointment of Jesse Rosenblum for a term expiring on March 14, 2026. And for the Tourism and Convention Commission appointment of Jackie Marushka for a term expiring on June 30, 2027. Does anything need to be pulled from consent? Can I get a motion?
Second.
Move for a recommendation, yes. Second, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 4 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting on all of those. And then we have rule change, Councilmember Benedict. She has a
Do I go in
proposal.
the hot seat?
Yeah,
first?
yeah.
I might already be in the hot seat.
You have a proposed amendment to Rule 13. Councilmember Benedict, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you also, Chair, for scheduling a specially called meeting on July 10th for this rule change specifically. It's at 5 p.m. And it's in this committee room. In that, I will speak to the reason for the change. I did leave on all council members' desks this letter, so that explains a lot. The council office provides valuable work for us, and so there's no intent on this to get around that. The intent is that should there ever be a need for us to do something on our own, that we have the ability to do that. So at the specially called meeting, I'll run through what that means and the reasons why we've had that. We've had things come up. Just in tonight's rules meeting, you spoke about a school purchase that could have been handled potentially on the floor with a bill that could have tracked along with a resolution in order to continue the negotiations of that. So there's times that we might need to, I think, rarely make an adjustment and have something like this available to us as a body. And I suspect that as a body, if somebody brings us some legislation that's not good, we will not consider that legislation, right? Or we'll be able to have the same outcomes that we have today of defer, vote down, approve, or whatever.
The recommendation.
Yeah, or whatever it is. So, but in this particular case for tonight, what I'd like to do, I'm gonna ask the Vice Mayor to make sure that the entire body hears about the special meeting on the 10th, so that since this does impact all 40 of us, I think it's important that we have a lot of participation in that. I appreciate if you're able to make it to that, so that I can explain more in depth what my goal is here. And also I think there's some learnings that we need to find out from the clerk and from the council office. There's some mechanics that they managed today that was in the analysis that came out. We need to make sure that we're addressing those so that we can function as a professional body. So with that, I would ask that you defer one meeting. That means it will get deferred by rule on the floor, but I would appreciate if I don't get the opportunity to announce the meeting. I think the Vice Mayor is going to announce it, but if you wouldn't mind to announce it, kind of put a pin in that for you too, because you have a lot of things to remember.
Okay.
There's one more.
All right.
Move one week deferral.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? All right.
Thank you.
5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Again, committee members, we have a special called meeting. We will be discussing Rule 13. We will also potentially, we'll be discussing a draft for a regulation as far as attendance goes for all commissioners. So make sure to attend that meeting. Councilmember Stiles, do you?
Oh, I had a question. I was talking to her, but I did have a question about said legislation. Can you repeat, please, what are the 3 components of the first piece of legislation that's coming up for boards and commissions? Mr. Rosenberg shared it yesterday in budget. There's 3 items.
Yeah, the one that got sent to me was as far as attendance goes for boards and commissions.
So that's it?
That's what I have, yes. And then we're discussing Rule 13. Is that another thing?
No, what he mentioned 3 items that were going to be included in the legislation regarding boards and commissions. I just know what he didn't include, and I couldn't remember.
And yes, to your point, he did say there were 3 things, and it was not, and it was kind of the reason for one of the reasons for the deferral conversation of your legislation.
Okay, that was in what committee yesterday?
Budget.
Okay, got it. All right.
Well, I just wanted her to, because this is the interim director for art, so I wanted her to hear what was in the upcoming legislation. Do you remember what the 3 items were, Councilmember?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Recall.
I don't have that. Director Darby, nothing.
I don't have it.
All right. I'll tell them to send that out to everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right. With that, we conclude rules and confirmations. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.